Rappers who got dropped from their labels. It's not easy to get a record deal as a rapper. The internet has made it so that there's more competition than ever before. So you really need to show a label that you're unique and set for success. Getting a few thousand plays on SoundCloud isn't enough anymore. There are millions of rappers with those types of numbers. You need to have something special to get the attention of a big rap label. The most common route is, of course, a huge hit song. Having a song rack up millions of streams gets the attention of record executives right away. We've seen it time and time again where rappers come out with a hot debut single and then quickly get scooped up by a label looking to get a piece of their success. But if a rapper turns out to be a one-hit wonder, the company will quickly turn its back on them. There are other reasons why a label might drop a rapper too. In fact, plenty of rappers have been happy to be signed only to get let go soon afterwards. This has even happened to some of the biggest names in the game. Before I jump into this video though, please make sure to like this video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now here are 7 rappers who got dropped from their labels. Number 7, Trinidad James. If you remember Trinidad James at all, you remember him for All Gold Everything. James, a well-known artist at the time, released the single in 2012 to massive popularity. It was a flashy and fun song that was equally catchy and outrageous, and it racked up views on YouTube super quickly. It did pretty well on the charts as well, and it seemed like Trinidad James was ready to enter into the mainstream off the strength of this viral track. The song was so popular that it earned him a $2 million deal with Def Jam, and he started to work on his debut album. And then nothing. Rather than capitalizing on his newfound fame, James went completely silent. This is because trouble was brewing behind the scenes. He was having label trouble. Def Jam had lost enthusiasm for his music, and they weren't too sure that their choice of signing him was smart anymore. After a long period with basically no updates, the news came in the summer of 2014 that Def Jam had ended their contract with Trinidad James. And although he has continued to release mixtapes over the years, he has never achieved the same level of success that he would have been able to if he had managed to stay on a major label. It's a sad story, to be honest. Number 6, 50 Cent. 50 Cent is an absolute rap legend. He's a household name around the world, and he's done a great job at staying relevant in the age of social media. The guy was just born to be a celebrity, but it didn't really seem like that at the start of his career. His gangster rap persona wasn't a facade at all, and it seemed like he might have to say goodbye to his chances at stardom when he was involved in a super serious shooting in the year 2000. Here's the story. 50 had just gotten a breakthrough deal with Columbia Records, and they were set to release his debut album, Power of the Dollar. During the recording process, however, a song off the album called Ghetto Quran was leaked. The song explicitly mentioned the criminal activity of certain people, and this led some people to get quite upset with 50. You know, as you might be when someone talks about your crimes in a song. This is what spurred the shooting, and 50 was sent to the hospital for about 2 weeks. As he was still recovering from his wounds, Columbia got news about the altercation and understandably got a bit nervous. Rather than dealing with all of the danger around 50's album, they simply shelved it and dropped him from the label. He later linked up with Eminem, of course, and the rest is history. Number 5, Lil Pump. No matter how you feel about Lil Pump, you can't deny that he is one of the most controversial rappers in recent years. His first true hit was Gucci Gang, and that immediately made plenty of people write him off as ignorant. This followed up with lots of outrageous behavior out in public that made people mad, culminating in some interesting recent political decisions. His career is now more or less just appearing on DJ Academics' Instagram for painting his nails. All of this is to say that Lil Pump is certainly a risky investment for any record label. While they say any publicity is good publicity, one could argue that Pump goes a bit beyond that. His initial hit-marking powers were promising, and that's what made Warner Brothers offer him a record contract. He took it in summer of 2017, but the contract had been voided only a few months later in January of 2018. So what happened? Was Lil Pump dropped from his label? Well, Pump's camp claimed that they decided to get out of the deal, and were able to because he had been signed when he was still a minor. It's pretty easy to read between the lines here though, and see that they were probably just trying to save face after he got dropped. I can't say definitively if that's what happened, but it feels like a safe bet. Number 4, Blueface. So far you may have noticed a bit of a trend on this list. An artist releases a song that becomes super popular, they get signed, that artist then has trouble reaching those same heights, and their label lose his interest in them. That was the case for Lil Pump and Trinidad James, and it's pretty obvious to see that that's what happened to Blueface. Blueface is obviously known for the 2018 hit song Thotiana, but it was a different song that earned him his deal. He dropped Respect My Crippin' before Thotiana, and Birdman saw potential in him. He got signed to Cash Money West, though it was a bit more complicated than that. In an infamous interview with The Breakfast Club, it was revealed to Blueface that he was actually signed to 4 different labels at once. The poor guy had no idea what they were talking about. His misunderstanding of his label situation perhaps was a hint of the kind of relationship that he had with the people who had signed him. That is to say, he didn't have much of a relationship with them at all. By the time 2020 came around, internet detectives found that Blueface had released a new video without the Cash Money logo, showing that he had been dropped by his label. His inability to release popular music after Thotiana probably played a large role in the label's decision. Number 3, Lil Durk. The Chicago rapper Lil Durk has been around for quite some time, but he only recently has achieved the level of popularity that he has always been waiting for. His 2020 album, The Voice, climbed all the way to number 2 on the Billboard, and people have had it on repeat since it was first released. And despite the biggest album of his career, it was released independently though, on his own label, Only the Label. The story behind Durk going independent is a bit confusing. When he first started to get some heat off of songs like This Ain't What You Want, labels took notice. It was ultimately Def Jam that got him on a contract, but he only went for it because the deal allowed him to still release music through OTF while he was working with Def Jam. He was with Def Jam for a total of 5 years until he left the label in 2018. But it's not really clear why he got off of the label. While some have speculated that he decided to leave because they were pushing him towards a more pop-oriented sound, others have thought that Def Jam let him go because he wasn't marketable enough. Either way, him getting out of his deal ended up being beneficial for him, as he's bigger now than ever. Number 2, Wale. Wale has quite the dramatic history with record labels. He's been rapping since the 2000s, and he got his first ever deal with a label called Alido Records in 2007. A year later, he added a contract with Interscope, along with his production deal with Alido. He released his first album through Interscope, and it did pretty well. But Wale quickly threw shots towards his label for not giving him enough support. No matter if they were at fault or not, Wale was no longer with Interscope by the time 2011 rolled around. He instead signed with Maybach Music Group, Rick Ross's label. His next 3 albums were released through MMG, but he then pivoted once again and found a new home with Atlantic Records. It's not clear whether he was dropped from MMG or just decided to part ways amicably, and it wasn't long until Wale had yet another change to his management. He was released from his contract at Atlantic in 2018, so he started to look for another label. He eventually settled on Warner Brothers, but it looks like that relationship is falling apart. He made a series of tweets criticizing Warner Brothers, so it's entirely possible that they will decide to drop him sometime soon. Wale really can't catch a break. Number 1, Chief Keef. Chief Keef revealed to the world that he had been dropped from his label in a weird way. In October of 2014, Keef posted a text conversation between him and fellow rapper Lucky. In it, he simply texted Lucky, quote, "I've been dropped for a week now," unquote. No context, no explanation, just like that. Looking back, it's actually pretty hilarious. This took the world of rap by surprise, though it's actually not that crazy when you put it into context. Keef's relationship with Interscope began in 2012, when he was only 16 or 17 years old. They signed him off of the strength of I Don't Like, his breakout track that has since become iconic. Weirdly enough, his deal came with a deal. If his debut album with Interscope didn't sell 250,000 copies after a year, they would retract their relationship with him. Kind of a weird way to start a professional relationship. Regardless, Keef's album did well and Interscope was happy with him. But after the album Finally Rich, his career started to slow down. After a period of jail time, he started to ready his next album, Bang 3. But Interscope kept delaying the album. And before he could release a second album with them, he was dropped. And we all then had to learn about it on his Twitter. So do you think any of these artists would have been more successful if they had never been dropped? Do you think that these labels made the right decision? Let me know in the comments. And before you leave, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to our channel.
It's not a game, it's a